So, Mr. B has been publishing Wings magazine since 2015, and since then it has grown into something bigger. These days we also have an online platform, and we also host Wings Talks every now and then at fetish events. And usually for Wings Talks, we ask people from the community to sit with us and talk about kink and fetish from a queer perspective. We do something similar this time, but because we're in Amsterdam, which is our home ground, we thought it might be fun to have a Wings Talks with actually the people who write for Wings magazine. So we're going to have a panel with a couple of my colleagues. I also write for the magazine, by the way. We will start our day, or our evening, with an interview with the new Mr. International Rubber, who's sitting over there. And afterwards, we are going to have the panel. Then we have a little break. You can have like a 5-minute pause to go to the toilet. And there's also drinks over there, which you can get for free. And then afterwards, we will be back. And then we have a fetish performance by Papilicious. So yeah, let's just get to the start and do it. Pusckatt, would you like to come over? I'm going to give you my handheld because I don't think they gave you one, right?
Are we on? No, thank God.
Let's see.
No, we can hear you.
Am I still? No.
We can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me? Okay. So yeah, first of all, thank you for coming and joining us today. You are the newly elected, a couple of months already, Mr. International Rubber. And you flew over, especially...
Yes.
Yes. First of all, for people who don't know what Mr. International Rubber is, can you explain to us what the event is and what the contest is?
All right. So Mr. International Rubber is actually held in Chicago, Illinois, and pretty much it's a weekend full of rubber enthusiasts who come together for events, education, and upon that is a contest to elect a representative for the brand through the year. And this year it is held October the 17th through the 19th. Mm-hmm. Previous years it's been held in November, the first weekend in November.
Cool. And can you tell us a little bit more about your background? What do you do in life, and how did you discover rubber?
So professionally, I work in the social work field. I run a team of disease case managers, and we work with clients in regards to substance abuse, mental health, and HIV status, and HIV prevention as well as treatment. Outside of that, I'm the president of ONYX Deep South, which is a leather organization. There is 9 chapters in the United States, mm-hmm. And I am currently the president of the Deep South chapter, which covers Florida and the Caribbean.
And how did you discover rubber?
So I kind of just stumbled upon it. A good friend of mine, Spirit, was into rubber, and he actually was running for Mr. Florida Rubber a few years ago. And in support of him, I dove into and tried on my first piece of latex, and since then I have not been out of latex.
And what was that first piece of latex that you tried on?
The first piece was actually a pair of rubber shorts and a rubber tank top.
Fun. And I see your look. You are experimenting a lot with color because rubber, at least the way I know it, is often black and a little bit straight to the point, let's say. Mm-hmm. How do you create your looks, and why do you play with color so much?
So my color choices really goes by my background as far as in my leather journey. We're really big on the hanky code colors. So that's actually what spiraled my colors. So I flag fuchsia. Mm-hmm. So that's why you see me in a lot of fuchsia. I'm heavily into impact. I'm an impact switch. Then you see me in the blues because, of course, I'm into anal and fucking. So that's kind of where it started with the colors, and why you see a lot of the fuchsia / pink within my looks.
And you also play a lot with masculinity and femininity, right, in your looks?
Yes, I definitely embrace my feminine side, and I hope that through my expressions and being visible, help others embrace whatever their individuality is. Because a lot of times, and we know in the kink and fetish community, it can be very hyper-masculine, mm-hmm. and some are intimidated by those who embrace other sides to themselves. So yes. I think it's very important to step out and just be who you are and represent whatever it is that you are. Because
you also identify as a gender non-conforming.
Gender non-conforming. Yes. I do not fit in any box, and I don't like fitting in boxes, so I definitely try to push the boundaries of not fitting in a box.
And what were the And what were the initial reactions from the rubber community when they saw your outfits?
So within the rubber community, I was very embraced. I think in the leather community, we're still got some work to do.
Yes.
There's still work to do. But again, for me, it's about me being comfortable within who I am, but also making way and making a space for those who maybe see something in me. So I think for me, every time I show up, and I show up in my heels, and I show up in a leotard or a corset or whatever,
with your feather fan,
or
for
my
example,
feather fan,
yeah.
whatever it is, I always tend to get messages privately about how it inspires others to come out to be who they truly are. Because a lot of times in some of these hyper-masculine spaces, they don't feel welcomed and they feel isolated.
Yes. And I mean, you took that to a different, to another level because you became Mr. International Rubber, so you can spread your message to a lot more people. Was it also the reason why you took part in the election?
So for me, it was about visibility. In the MIR brand, there has only been one POC, person of color, and that was Preston. So for me, it was time to continue to make sure that the umbrella is wide and that just because you don't fit a mold, that you can step out and be a part of the brand. And so for me, from running was just really about the representation of having a black person of color hit the stage, whether I won or not.
Yes. And what were the reactions from your community? How did they react to you winning?
The community was very glad. I've lost some weight, so I was also on more on the heavier side when I started out and I ran. So it was a lot of people that felt that it was time for someone that looked like them actually run. So I got a lot of embrace with that. I got a little bit of pushback, what I want to say, like the night after I won, but then the community kind of like shut that down right at the start, and I haven't had any issues since.
Can I ask what the pushback was?
So it was a gentleman who, when I was elected in a leotard and thigh highs, and he made a comment on a social media post about representation on how can a mister have on female garments.
Yes.
And then before I can even say anything, the community came up and started.
And they told him basically
yeah.
to shut them up.
So then,
Yes.
and it was actually interesting because I actually blocked him, and then the person found me on another site and actually apologized.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Did you accept the apology?
I heard it.
Reluctantly? I love it. I love it. Usually when people take part in contests like this, they also do a lot of charity work, or they commit themselves to a charity or a good cause. But you already do a lot of things in that field. Can you tell us a little bit about your work?
So previous to running, and what I continue to do is help, and I try to give back to people who experience homelessness, because a lot of times they're really overlooked. So I do a lot of giving away of snack bags, toiletry bags. I work with different groups out and throughout the state of Florida, as well as passing out gift cards. So on holidays, I always try to raise funds to give out like a $10 gift card to make sure those who don't have a table to eat at, they're able to grab something, whether it's from McDonald's, Subway, or any kind of fast food restaurant.
Amazing, amazing. So you like to push the boundaries. You're not of the rubber scene. In what way do you do that?
So for me, when I say pushing the boundaries, it is, being a dom coming from a feminine space in a hyper-masculine environment. I think it creates an atmosphere. Some it's a wow factor. Some it's more of like what is going on kind of aesthetic.
Okay. And we talked about ONYX before. You said you are the president of the Deep South chapter.
Correct.
I don't know, does anybody know ONYX as an organization? Two people, so that might need some extra explanation.
ONYX is the organization that was founded in 1995 for POC people, led by POC people of color, a leather fraternity. Currently, there's 9 chapters throughout the United States. Again, like I mentioned before, I'm the president of the Deep South chapter, as well as I sit on the ONYX National Council.
And it's mostly targeted at leather people, right?
Yes, it's mostly leather. So I am actually the first fully identified rubberist to run a chapter.
I love how you are like breaking all those stereotypes.
And I think for me, it's very powerful because then you see the support of your fellow leather family coming together and starting to embrace and invest into latex as well.
Yes.
And rubber as well.
Okay, so you actually turned them to the other side.
I'm trying.
Yes. So we're almost at the end. In my interviews, I always like to ask, my ending question is, did I forget to ask anything, or is there anything else you would like to share with us? So.
I think you pretty much asked everything, but I just always encourage everyone to just truly live your authentic self. It's nothing like being truly who you are, and don't be apologetic about it. So if you are someone who crosses the boundaries of masculine and feminine, or whatever it is, just make sure that you embrace who you are. You only have one life to live, so you might as well live it to the fullest.
Yes, amazing. Thank you so much. Also, important question, where can people find you if they want to slip into your DMs?
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and they're all the same thing, Pusckatt ONYX. You can find me on pretty much every social media platform.
Yes.
Recon is the same thing.
And I love that you're still on Facebook, so you also have like an older audience is also your target audience. Yeah. And Tony, of course, our editor-in-chief. Yeah. So, those were my questions, but during the whole panel and right now as well, if you have a question for our panelists, or in this case for Pusckatt, you are able to ask a question. And Carl, our lovely social media man, has a microphone. Does maybe someone have a question for Pusckatt?
What's your favorite food?
Yes.
So I was wondering if you could share one highlight of your last months as MIR, or something maybe unexpected of those months.
Yes,
I want to say my greatest highlight is just meeting all the beautiful community members throughout the world. I've traveled a lot. I've traveled every weekend since January. So it's just awesomely to be able to meet so many different community members and actually indulge in their community and see how they play and get along and work, and yeah.
Are there like responses that you got that stuck with you, or that like maybe made you emotional, that you think, yes, that's why I'm doing it for?
Yeah, so every time when I get messages or someone come up to me and they tell me about how it inspired them to be who they are, I'm like, that's the reason why I did this. Whether I won the title or not, that's always been my mission. I feel like it's not really about me and my journey, but it's about making ways for those who are coming up behind me.
Yes. And have you also seen other people in the rubber scene, in this case, who started dressing a little bit more adventurous or creative or colorful, or?
I think I am in tune to seeing more people in color rubber. I don't know if in the prior, maybe it's just that I just kind of overseen it, but I do see it. Even at MIR, it was a big thing on that Sunday, seeing so many people buying the pink latex that was there to represent and support.
It's funny, actually, because we also have the new Mr. Rubber Netherlands in the audience,
yes,
which you also helped elect in this case, right? Mm-hmm. You were a judge, and he's known for having very colorful costumes.
Oh, very much so.
Was that maybe the extra push that made him?
It could have been.
It could be. Thank you so much. Is there anybody else who maybe still has a question for Pusckatt?
I think what you're saying, and I think most people resonated with it, it's so fierce, and I don't know you, so this is not like prepared, but you were saying that, you know, one of the things you really wanted to do is show how the feminine and masculine can both come out in both sides. And you also mentioned that you're a switch, and I was wondering if you've noticed there is a difference to when you're sort of in that scene, or you're playing as maybe the top or the bottom or the dom or the sub, if people are more or less willing to accept your feminine side, you know, with those roles of like, oh, if you're the top, then that's when you know, I think bottoms or subs are more, I'd say, allowed or given permission to show their feminine side, and I think it's fascinating that you're a switch, you do both, and yet, I mean, you're fierce. You really are fierce. That's all I can say. So.
So yeah, to answer your question, I think that in some spaces, yes, as being a dom, they want you to you run into players who want you to be more on the masculine side. But then also it is pushing and making the play spaces and opening up the room for those who can be a dom, but necessarily present somewhat femme. So I think that is the most important thing. So a lot of times I might even come into a play space with my boy and create that space, that atmosphere. and kind of just break up the crowd.
Work. Thank you.
Let's see if there's any more questions.
You've traveled a lot to Europe now for the last few months. Do you notice, or what are the differences between the scene in the States and Europe that you've noticed?
So I know. So over in Europe, I think you guys are more kinkier and have more play.
Judging from the smiles that we get, I guess that's true. Yeah.
I think that's what got me over here a whole lot.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
I have a question for you. I want to ask what brings you to this color, the lovely color of pink and blue together and black together. Do you wear this uniform like on a daily basis, or is it? Is there any reason behind it that you wear it?
Yeah. So the fuchsia that I am wearing is in the hanky code is for impact play. So I'm a switch in impact play, and that's one of my main.
Does everybody know what impact play is?
Okay, so the hanky code is just different. It's kind of old guard, but it's colors that represent what you're into.
Yes. So
for
fist
me,
is, for example, yellow. Red is fisting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Red is fisting. Yeah. And so for me, the fuchsia is the signature for impact play. So impact play could be anything from spanking to flogging to caning, punching. It could be anything that deals with impact.
Yes. So everything that delivers a smack.
There you go.
Yes. No more questions? Then thank you so much again.
All right. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. We're going to build our set a little bit differently, and